Now, as farmers are able to create birds that are able to produce a specialized product, such as ones for eggs or versus meat, that means they could get better birds. Better birds means more productivity. So, where is my little pen right here? Oh, still didn't show up. Anyway, so in the 1940s, we could see that people now didn't really want to buy the entire chicken. So, do you or your parents buy a whole bird, or do you buy it in pieces? Whether you buy just the breast meat, whether you buy just the legs, what do? Well, in the 1940s, they actually began to modernize a little bit. So, they were able to sell the birds already processed. Prominent way to buy chicken became the New York dressed, which means it was plucked, slaughtered, but it still had the feet and head attached to it. Don't see that one anymore, but that was the deal of the day. So, as we start to see the modernization of things and we're starting to see how things work, producers are able to grow businesses, and because they have to produce a lot more in order to create more money, they now had to expand, and they had to become fully integrated or involved in all the areas of production process and build facilities to facilitate all of that. So the hatcheries, the feed mills, farms and processing plants in separate locations, you're starting to see that you're getting companies that are growing much, much larger, and they incorporate all of these things. Another way that they did this, which isn't mentioned right here, is through co-ops. So you get multiple farmers working together to create a co-op. Turkey farms down around the Ephraim area, they have some great co-op. It's one big co-op down there that they're able to have one processing plant, one feed mill, that all the farmers are able to work together, and so that everybody can produce a uniform product that's able to meet the need of both the farmers and the consumers. That's the word. So in 1949, United States Department of Agriculture established a voluntary carcass grading of the birds. So they're able to grade the value of each carcass. This helped consumers determine the quality of the carcasses, what the quality of the meat that they're getting, and the standard to be met by producers. If you have a company that's simply making chicken nuggets, do you need the highest quality birds available? No, because you're not selling them as a whole animal. Whereas, if you're at a high-end restaurant that sells chicken, you want to have animals that present a pleasant eating experience to your customers. So the grading helps determine not only the quality of the carcass, but also helps consumers decide how much they want to spend on those. So, egg production in the 1940s, wire cage housing for egg layers begins. This gives you healthier, more efficient producers. Eggs could be collected easier, and diseases were easier to prevent and control. Nowadays, this is a little more controversial. People think it's cruel to put chickens in these wire cages. But in the late 1940s, people decided that eating eggs wasn't healthy for you. Studies released proposing controversial negative effects of eggs because of high cholesterol. Now, you also saw a movement from a lot of people living in a rural setting, rural meaning living out in the countryside, kind of like we are, to urban living, people living more in the cities. Less eggs being consumed as families began to move from their farms and rural areas into urban cities for work. Now, that also meant there was less time and space for having personal flocks. Personal flocks had to go down because in the city you don't have the space for it. So in the 50s and 60s, this is where commercial broiler production integrated with vertical integration. They moved to this so that they could now be involved in every stage of production process and marketing. The advantages were more efficient, responsive, and profitable. In the mid-60s, 90% of broilers produced came from vertically integrated operations. I believe that still stands today if that number is not higher. So